Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. And today we're going to be going over this update that Volta has put out on their business realignment. As some of you know, Volta previously announced this organizational realignment a few weeks ago. So this is kind of an update on how that's progressing for them. So it says, Volta announced the next step in its organizational realignment. In addition to the efforts previously announced, Volta is also instituting a furlough program designed to reduce costs and further focus the company's resources on key strategic priorities. Volta has decreased 54% of its U.S. full-time employees through this furlough program and other workforce reductions that began in Q2 this year. Inclusive in these latest efforts, this continued focus will result in a 43% reduction in cash, selling, general, and administrative expenses. Now, that reduction in SG&A is very important because Volta, that SG&A is very significant. It really drags Volta down. If you take a look here, this is Volta's Q2 income statement, and we can see Volta had total operating revenue of just over $15 million, but that SG&A expense was just under $44 million. And you know, that really was kind of the leader in their operating expenses. So, you know, it makes a lot of sense why Volta is trying to reduce these operating expenses by reducing the amount of full-time employees they have. If you take a look at kind of where they started this, they say that they began during Q2. If you take a look at where this was at in Q1, before they did any of these cutbacks at all, if you take a look back here at Q1, you can see that SG&A line was at $56 million. So even just from Q1 over to Q2, a very significant reduction already, and then it's going to be even lower in Q3. Now, if we continue down through this article, you know, most of the information was in that first paragraph, but there's a few other points here. It says Volta continues to attract new advertising clients and larger digital media budgets through basically delivering measurable sales. So, you know, pretty standard here. They're expanding the amount of customers they're getting for their advertising by proving that their advertising works to them. So, pretty standard stuff there. Volta is focused on strategic initiatives to drive public-private partnerships that align with the bipartisan infrastructure law. More stuff we kind of already knew. And then Volta is taking steps to scale its business by outsourcing certain operations to select US-based contractors and suppliers at the local level. Then we've got a quote here from the current interim CEO, Vince Cubbage. He says Volta's management team is positioning the business to capture this dynamic market opportunity while simultaneously reducing costs and growing revenue. Okay, so there's two parts right here. There's this reducing costs part, which they're doing right now, of course, with this whole business realignment, reducing the number of full-time employees and cutting down on those SG&A costs. But then that second part here, growing revenue, they aren't necessarily growing revenue as much as they used to be, basically. So they used to, if you take a look back here at Q1, you can see total revenues of just over $8 million, and then over at Q2, there was just over $15 million. So, you know, really great growth quarter over quarter, just from Q1 to Q2 this year alone. Really excellent growth that they had there on their revenues. But if you take a look back at the original announcement of this organizational realignment, and you scroll down here, you can see Volta is currently guiding for Q3 revenue this year to come in only between $13.5 and $14.5 million. And you know, you look back here at that $15.3 million, and you know, you can see that Volta is expecting their Q3 revenue to be lower than where it was in Q2. Now, this is not what they were expecting for the revenue to be in the beginning of the year. You know, that the revenue is supposed to be seasonal, basically, with the advertising. So progressively throughout the year, each quarter is supposed to be basically more than the previous quarter, essentially. Basically the lowest revenue will be in Q1, and then quarter 4 will have the highest revenue, and then it'll dip back again once you get into quarter 1 that year. And this is reflective of the standard advertising revenue seasonality in the industry. But Volta is basically running out of money now, and they haven't been able to grow their network as fast as they had previously been planning. So I think that is kind of really the main reason driving this lower than expected revenue here. This all comes down to the amount of cash Volta has, the revenue, and these cost cutting. They're doing this out of necessity, really, because they're running out of money. They've only got $105 million of cash here as of June 30th, and of course, I mean, it's going to be even lower once the quarter 3 report comes out. Volta really has to cut down on the SG&A expense. Of course, taking a look back again at that quarter 1 selling general and administrative expense, $56 million would wipe out Volta's current, it's under $100 million of cash right now. But it'll just destroy it if they kept it at the level that it used to be. So definitely they're not going to be going through as much cash as they used to be, but I am still concerned about their long-term outlook, because even with this pretty significant reduction in SG&A, they still will have that pretty a significant SG&A expense. I mean, it's not like it's going away. So they're still going to have that. It's still going to bring Volta down. So I think what it really does come down to for Volta is completing a capital raise of some sort. They were trying to do that through taking on debt earlier this year. More recently, it sounds like Volta is trying to do it through share dilution. But there's nothing confirmed here or anything. I wouldn't be surprised if nothing ends up happening as far as any share dilution, but you never know. That is what they were anticipating possibly doing, some share dilution. I mean, the stock is at $176 million right now, so I'm not sure how much they would be able to get from share dilution at this point. I think Volta's plan really is to cut down on these operating expenses, mostly that SG&A line, and in doing that, they can slow the rate at which they're burning through money, and hopefully kind of end up coming out into better times, basically. They are expecting more government money that's being provided to these companies that are building out EV chargers, and then they're probably also hoping for a better macroeconomic environment where lenders are more willing to give out money, and possibly the share price is higher, perhaps, and they're able to do some share dilution there. They might do either or, debt or dilution, maybe both, or who knows. So that's where we're at with Volta right now, a 54% decrease in current full-time employees in the U.S., and they expect a 43% reduction in cash selling general and administrative expenses. I would like to note, they do say cash, because part of these SG&A expenses is stock-based compensation. Chances are that will be lower as well with 54% less people, but the stock-based compensation is not really something that goes and affects the cash that Volta has. So it is good that they go ahead and point out the exact amount in cash, because that's really kind of the more important thing here when considering Volta's low amount of cash that they have. So that pretty much covers it for today. I've got a number of other videos on Volta that I've got up on this channel, so be sure to check some of those out, and I'll see all of you in the next video.